Hello, everyone, and I hope this finds you very well today. This week we're going into Module 2 Self Care. Now, on the build up to Christmas, obviously, we've been looking at it's even more important that we think about self care and how we're going to manage all the emotions and all the kind of thoughts and the stresses and the pressure that Christmas brings to a lot of people every year. We all know this year isn't a normal year. And so this Christmas, on the build up, I've been speaking to a number of people. We had our men's support group yesterday and trying to get a gauge of how people are feeling and what they're doing for Christmas. Some people pretty much aren't bothering. As we've seen, many people have kind of started Christmas early with the old Christmas lights going up everywhere, which is great to see. And I think, yeah, we should celebrate. We're still alive and we're fitting well. There's a lot of positives. The vaccines are coming out, although there's going to be a time lag in that. But it's still there. And there's a lot to be hopeful for, a lot to be positive about for 2021. Now, though, we still got to deal with 2020 and our approach to Christmas. So there's a wide variation of how people are going to be dealing with Christmas. Many people aren't doing anything at all, and people aren't even taking advantage of the bubbles because the grandparents or the elderly parents they don't want to take the risk. So everyone's got all their ideas, their own perceptions, their own thoughts of what they should be doing, and I wish everyone some kind of Merry Christmas anyway, and just to make the most of it. I think that's what I would like to see people doing, and just to celebrate life. Maybe that's an angle that you can think of and that you can relate to is just to celebrate being alive. Um, so self care is really, really important. We're in the months of SAD, which is seasonal affective disorder. That impacts a lot of people. For those who have lost loved ones, times like Christmas and New Year, it's difficult. One of our guys, he lost his wife a year ago, so he's got all kinds of mixed emotions. And typically, he even said he's going to try and just work, over Christmas Day Boxing Day because he just doesn't want to be sat at home by himself, just thinking and mulling things over because that can be really negative and at times quite dangerous for some people. So what we're going to be covering up over the next 3-4 weeks is really looking at self care. We've looked at self awareness and identifying who we are as an individual, but let's really get into the meat of it of self-care and how do we actually take care of ourselves on a day-to-day basis. And so this episode is all about finding your baseline. Now, what do we talk about with finding your baseline? Well, if you think of baseline, what it is in general, we are trying to find whereabouts what is your everyday basic. Okay, so it's not a high, it's not a massive low, it's where are you on a day-to-day basis. Okay, it's really important that when we're looking at things like personal development and self-management and self-awareness, we really need to know, we need to have a starting point. Basically, we need to draw a line in the sand to say, okay, currently I'm here, this is my baseline. Don't look at other people because it's only the importance is what you feel your baseline is. Because it doesn't matter if it's lower than what it really is or whatever. It's the process of going. This is where I think I'm at prior to working on myself, prior to trying to take better care of myself, prior to starting some exercise. If you think of physical health, you always have a starting point. Okay, if you work with a trainer, they'll look at where you are at now. How many reps can you do? What how long, how much weight can you lift? How fast can you run? How far can you run? And so there's always a starting point. It's exactly the same with mental health, okay? Especially when we're looking at self-care. So you have your starting point, identify what your starting point is, okay? And we'll call that your baseline. So when we're looking at a baseline, you need to be thinking of what are you like on a day-to-day basis? You need to be looking into various elements of your life and selecting them. And there's loads of exercises around this. There's one called the Wheel of Life, which particularly I love. And when I was doing a lot of coaching a few years ago, I used the Wheel of Life a lot with my clients. And it's a really easy to use exercise. You know, you don't need spend any money or anything. There's typically there's loads of free downloads you can get, or just draw a piece of paper, circle, mark out your segments, and then label them. That's the easy bit. Then actually going through the process, the exercise itself, that can be a bit harder. But think about yourself on a day-to-day basis. And what we need to be starting to build a picture up of is physical behaviors, okay? So when we perceive life or perceive ourselves or any situations and scenarios, we build up a picture in our minds, which then impacts how we feel, our emotions, and then our emotions then trigger our external behaviors, okay? So how we act physically. So we need to be able to have a good idea of what that is, you know, and how we behave in different situations and scenarios. So when we're looking at your baseline, let's look into various elements, the key elements of our lives, and what really helps you to be healthy, you know. So some of them that you'll know. So if you think about physical exercise, you think about routine, especially when you are working from home, be that self-employed or employed. When you're working from home, remote working, that has really thrown a curveball to a lot of people. And our funding manager, actually, he has to work from home, but he hasn't got a spare office, a spare room to use as an office, you know. So he's trying to work at the kitchen table whilst he's got youngsters running around, and he's got the dog and the cat, and etc. etc. So that actually promotes a lot of stress for people. So one of the key elements of having a routine within the household is almost essential for you to be able to be productive when you're working. Okay, so other areas is what we covered: exercise, routine, nutrition. Nutrition is being more and more accepted by people as the more that people understand just how much nutrition and really impacts our mental health as well as our physical health. Looking after your gut. There's people as a nutritionist who specialize in this area, but a healthy gut is linked to a healthy mind. Okay, fact. So gaining a better understanding of that is really important and can make a massive difference to our mental health. Other areas is like learning something new, be that getting creative, be that activities, or learning a new hobby. But learning something new and pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, testing yourself, you know, that for me, as I said before, is really about being alive. That's when it becomes living against existing. And you know, pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone. For me today, doing this, I'm pushing myself out of my comfort zone today because I'm really feeling rubbish. I'm, you know, just to drop the mask briefly, to be honest with you, I'm in a lot of pain. I'm really struggling. That's why there's just the one camera viewpoint today when I usually do two, because I can't do that for you today. I can't put it all together by myself. And it was 50-50 whether I actually made this today or not. But, it's not about me. It's about trying to help yourselves, and people who are struggling. And that's what this is all about. So it's bigger than me. And I'm just lucky that I've got the education and the knowledge to be able to put that in all the coping strategies, tools, and techniques, and mechanisms, and all these kind of terminology. I can put them into practice to at least put a video out there, and not to let people down, and to give you something to still work on right now, even though it might not be as good as the other ones. And as you can tell, I'm struggling with my words, and and that's being honest with you. A bit of vulnerability, open up to that. But anyway, mask back on, and we carry on. So yeah, learning something new, pushing ourselves, and getting out of our comfort zone. That's, you start feeling alive, all right. And so I really, that one is, for me, is one that I really would ask you to try. To try and do that. It doesn't matter how much, how big. Okay, it could be as small as, like this for me, still doing a video when I'm struggling. So still it's pushing myself out the comfort zone, because afterwards I know that when it gets shared out there, that I'm going to feel that I've achieved something. Although at the moment I feel a bit crap, actually afterwards, later today, I'm going to feel positive at the end of the day, because I've still done something and I haven't allowed it to win. Okay, so that's that. Connecting with others, essential. How many people have been self-isolating for most of the year? Me. How many people have really started to feel the effects of not having that closeness and the physical of other people? Having a bro hug, or just being around other people. Me. How many people have started just really struggling with not having that physical connection, not speaking to people face to face rather than via video camera? Me. So it starts impacting on loneliness, and loneliness is a massive cause of depression, and isolation as a massive cause of depression. So connecting with others, whether that's socializing, which obviously has been removed quite a lot during this year, but volunteering, if you want to volunteer, we're still looking for volunteers. So if you want to volunteer, drop me a message. But volunteering for things within the local community, work for the local food banks, things like that, so that's really good. Get involved with support groups, whether that's you are part of the people providing it, or come along to a group like ours, our men's support group, peer support led. Come along to those, because at least you get an opportunity to be amongst other people, which is why we kept it going throughout the entirety of, since we first started 6 months ago. We haven't had a week where we haven't held. I'll get the word eventually. We haven't held a meeting. We've kept it going because we know how essential it is. So Google them, get on Facebook and search for those groups within your local area, where there are some kind of support groups, and just go along. It might be that you don't do it next year when we're socialising with other people more, but now do it. Get out there. And then what social support have you got, or social network? Are you reaching out to your friends? Are you messaging people that you haven't spoken to for a long time? Checking in with them. I try to check in with 5 people a day, and I've had some wonderful messages come back that just simply that message they received was enough, because actually it came at a time when they were really feeling shit and they were really starting to struggle. So just a message can make a massive difference to people within your network, whether it's friends, colleagues, whatever, connections, LinkedIn. Um, but also you also feel good about it, because you're checking in with other people. There's a real good feel good factor about that. So checking in with other people, but also what support have you got in place for you selfishly? What support have you got in place socially? And it's really important that you identify that. So they're just some things some elements which you might want to have, going back to the wheel of life, that you might want to have each segment. You might want to have a segment for relationships, for socializing. I haven't been drinking, honestly. Socializing, hobbies, activities, creativity, nutrition, exercise, routine. Select the ones of those which are really important to you, that mean something to you. Okay, we've talked about meaning and purpose and identity, and this really fits in well to that. So, what things are important to you? Family, friends, having something to do, doing some exercise, pushing yourself and getting outside of your comfort zone. So learning something new, try and learning something new every day, every week, once a month, whatever. Learn something new. And then once you've got your segment, then grade it from 1 to 10 or 0 to 10 on how well you are actually doing that. So what's the reality of it? 10 being for socializing, for example, 10 being, yeah, I go out all the time and I see my friends, do loads of socializing, I get out and about, da da da. If you put 10 for that, you're freaking lying or you're delusional. Joking. You've got to be realistic, okay? I don't think anyone can put 10 for this year for socializing because we just haven't been able to, okay? So, but rate it. And then once you've done that for all of them, if you think, right, I'm going to do hobbies. Okay, so have you actually been doing your hobby? Think about, crap, no, actually, I haven't been doing much of my hobby. I've hardly done it. Right, well, that's something we need to be looking at doing then. You want to change that, okay, because you enjoy it. And hobbying and activities and being creative, hobbies and activities are really important. It's linked to mindfulness and having that, and then having creativity. It's proven that getting creative, whether it's crappy colouring in, like what we're doing for our Christmas support group next week, we're having festive colouring in, we're having painting. But if you like singing, Help for Heroes have a male choir, and there's guys in there, big butch guys, who never would have thought that they would be singing, and yet they found it to be really cathartic, good for them. Go for that. I won't go for clever words. And they found it to be really, empowering, and really, they get a lot out of it. So, and that's a prime example of not turning your nose up at things and trying everything. Give it a go, because you just don't know. So maybe I should set up a toaster choir, talk mental health choir, coming to a place near you soon. Who knows? But yeah, singing, drawing, painting, just creativity. Getting creative is proven to not just empower us, but to get that feel good factor, and just to feel good about ourselves. Get the creative juices flowing, and it triggers something within our minds, and so it really makes us feel good. So have a look at that. So, oh crikey, I've just looked at how much has been going on. I hope that's of use for you. That's the wheel of life. That's finding your baseline, and it's really important to do that because next week we're going to be looking at the signs and symptoms of recognizing what signs and symptoms means you're on a downward spiral, but also recognizing what really a time when you're really happy and you've had a great day. What was it that created that? What were the signs and symptoms for that? So you can try to mimic it, but you can also identify a lot sooner when you're starting to go down a slippery slope. Red flags that go up, and then you can implement your coping strategies a lot sooner, preventing you from having a bigger low than what you would have had if you didn't know. So that's coming next week. Really, really important thing for you to do. But identify your baseline, okay? All about finding the best version of you and what creates the best version of you. So look at the wheel of life. That's going to really help to find the best version of you, and then we can build on your baseline to enhance that. Okay. Hope that's been good. Sorry, it's not quite been up to my usual standard, but I wanted to put something out for you anyway, regardless. Okay. So, take care of those around you, but please, more importantly, take care of yourselves. See you later.